there's a new player in the market now who is threatening to take B&Q and Wix on.
Bunnies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think John and I were talking about it earlier. I don't know much about them, but John knows about them, I think, from Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
And they're a pretty aggressive bunch.
They are.
That could really shake
gonna be
things up a bit.
interesting.
Yeah,
Very much so.
But the issue, how many of us, perhaps it's just me, I don't know, I'm in John Lewis looking at a new television. The first thing I do is Google it and see where I can buy it cheaper online. Yeah, and that's the issue for merchants. It's about, the bag of cement might be £4, but nobody pays £4 because of all the discounts and rebates and everything else. But the guy that, he wants to know what he's paying, and he wants that price transparency because actually, look, I can buy it here, 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 and here for £2.50. So what are you going to do?
What's the
That, I
difference?
think, is the issue for builders merchants.
As long as the guy that Googles,
Depending on the ticket price, yeah.
as long as the guy that Googles and John Lewis, there's no negotiation. At least the guy, there's potential for negotiation in the builders merchant.
But then, from my perspective, that's a decision I make about whether I want to pay the money and walk out with it from John Lewis,
Go to another shop.
or whether I go to another shop, maybe a short drive or a long drive, or I wait 4 days to have it delivered to my house. And that's a personal decision there. But if I'm a builder, I probably want it there and then.
Yeah.
But in terms of classic merchant business, John, you are talking a very small percentage of your business that would behave that way. We're talking about Saturday morning, inverted commas, professional DIY. Might look at the shelf edge price.
But isn't the point we're talking about now? It's not what we do today. It's what we potentially need to
but
do
the
tomorrow.
young guy might look at that, and
Yeah.
certainly if you look at the list prices, they've all come down in terms of where they were before, where the big discounts.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
30% trade discount was a norm 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not now. Because the visible pricing is now an important factor because people go online and check, etc., etc. But the bulk of merchants' business will be relationships with the trade customer. It's got a credit account, it's got his own special terms, etc., etc. That's the bulk of what they
I think that's a very strong point, the relationships, because you can go online today and buy lintels far cheaper than actually the merchants selling out over the counter at. But the guy comes into the counter, he knows he's getting a good deal. He's getting a couple of bags of cement and a bag of sand, but he comes in, he buys with the local guy. He could go online, but you have to wait for it, and it'll be a distribution and all that. So,
But you'd also have to pay for it.
and the price, there just might be a carriage charge.
He'd also have to get it right.
Could be different.
And he's taking
get his order right,
onus
he'll
to
bring
get
it
it
back.
responsible. Take it back easily, yeah.
Whereas we do sell the roof windows online, a bit like yourself, but we back sell that through the merchant, same as yourself. The only difference is we insist the merchant must have a minimum stock of 14 windows, so he has to be a bona fide stockist to get the benefit.
Quite right.
Because it's over the counter trade
There will
we
be
really want.
there will be a disruptor appear though in a merchant.
Yeah.
Absolutely guaranteed.
Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like yet, but something's going to turn up.
But that's the thing, isn't it? It happens across every industry. It's happened in supermarkets. It's happened with all of them, and it's almost the we've all been talking about Amazon and the threat of Amazon for years now, and it hasn't happened yet. And it's almost like the disruptor is going to come from somewhere else, something that you don't see until it's there.
Or unless you
Unless you create it yourself.
You create it yourself, which is a
Absolutely.
safer option.
Amazon
Absolutely.
are already operating in plumbing and heating. They're operating in tools, hand tools, power tools. They're already operating in some of
Roofing,
these sectors.
insulation, bricks,
Yeah.
lintels.
It hasn't prevented merchants from succeeding in
No.
those categories.
No, not at all.
And so, I mean, again, we're talking about a distribution channel that has actually shown double-digit growth for virtually the last 3 years. So, if you like, despite the threats, despite the growth of the internet, which will continue at a pace, you're still showing it. It's still a distribution channel which is showing substantial growth. So they must be doing something right somewhere along the line. Otherwise, you'd see a continual decline in that
I
distribution
don't think
channel.
I don't think anybody's saying that merchants aren't doing lots of things right. I think the question that we're talking about now is, do they know what they're doing right, and do they know why they have that double-digit growth, and do they know what they need to do differently tomorrow, the next 5 to 10 years, to maintain that double-digit growth? Because you go back to where Andy started before he got on his soapbox, which I think we're all grateful is quite a strong construction from a health and safety perspective. But it comes back to value. And, from my perspective, from any of the manufacturers' perspective, why do we trade with merchants? Because they add some value to our business.
Yeah.
Why do the builders deal with the merchants? Because they add some value to that supply chain. And as long as they do that, they'll always have a place. If they stop adding value to the supply chain, then that's when their position comes under question. And we know why they're doing it today, and it might be finance, it might be distribution, it might be breaking bulk. But if their requirement to maintain that position in the supply chain is different in 10 years, if they don't adapt and change, they don't have that God-given right.
And the passion you hear around the table from the suppliers is because
you
we
want
want
it to be-
those
to-
merchants to top. You know, we
Absolutely.
don't want people to sit there going, "Oh, we're doing all right," and we're doing it. No, yeah, you are, but we need to get better. We've got to continually push people.
And Andy, that's exactly what things like the conferences and members day are all about. Because putting people like Alistair Frost up, or doing a session on digital marketing is all about, look, these are key trends. You need to be aware that these trends are coming. And I think, like every sector, some people get it and some people don't. And the progressive ones that do get it will still be here in 15, 20, 30 years' time. The smaller ones that don't won't. It's as simple as that.
It's about that definition of adding value, though, isn't it? Because that could be a million and one different
Yeah,
things
it's
for a
different
different
things to different
supplier.
people.
And they have to re-innovate every day.
But, Peter's point about minimum order quantities is a good one, because the way the merchant industry is going at the moment, they are training manufacturers to deliver small lots. And whether you go to the merchant's yard or whether you go to the end user, makes no difference.
Makes no difference.
They're building that supply chain.
Back to your point, you're delivering everything direct and just using the merchant.
Strategically, that's flawed,
In what way?
Yep.
because you should break bulk.
Yep.
You shouldn't encourage merchants to do small.
Absolutely,
You
Peter,
shouldn't
but,
encourage
but,
manufacturers to do small
but
lots.
that's not what we see. As manufacturers, that's not what we see.
Okay, well,
But
in some
maybe as
ways-
manufacturers, you should be resisting
in my
that and
view,
saying,
mate,
we're not prepared to do
a
it.
manufacturer can do
That's your role.
small loads, why would you need a distributor?
There's always somebody that doesn't.
But
and then
in
it's a
some ways,
competitive market.
Peter, isn't the
Well,
logistics
become a
centre
clearance.
doing that?
No, I would think logistics centres will be full loads into there, won't it?
It will, but to service that regional.
No, logistics centre, we'll talk about TP, yeah? We'll talk about juice.
Yeah, TP, yeah.
TP now, you've got a typical branch, forgive me if I'm wrong, John, on this.
Yeah.
3.5, 5,000 SKUs. The availability of two things really, 20% of what merchants do, what we call specials. You've eradicated specials by having 27,000 in a logistics centre somewhere. So you eradicated the problem of making up a load or doing things that you do with manufacturers. I only want one of these, I'll have to place another order for 50 rolls of this or whatever, yeah? Because it's there. So your customer service is going to go through the roof because you can get it next day, guaranteed 8 o'clock. And it's working. I know it's working. Also, you eradicated this cost-plus mentality. So they're making a less product now in terms of margin. So they're doing two things really, customer service and margin and availability. And now for manufacturer, you get all your products in there. If I go back to my BG days, they've got every single product that BG make in that logistics centre. Every
That's the
single
breadth.
There's a breadth. And that's available next day. Now as an offer to a customer, it's fantastic. And for a branch manager to take all the hassle out, having to back-to-back orders, specials or whatever, which is 20% of his business everywhere.
Yeah.
Because merchants say, if it's available in the UK, I'll get it for you. Yeah, you went to Beekeep, it's not in stock, we don't do it. Yeah, so merchants do that. And that's what they should be doing. So exactly in terms of manufacturers, you should be putting full loads in there, all your range. Which to me would work well for in terms of what distributors should do. And then they'll put it around the logistics centre.
The key issue then will be, are the buying groups going to follow suit? Because there's no question that's the way the national groups are going. So if you take somebody like Fortis, will Fortis look at that TP model and say, actually, that's an interesting model. Why don't we open a distribution centre?
And I think
But
TP
you're
is-
back,
I
you're
think
back
T-
to the challenge that we talked about earlier. They're too interested in buying, not selling.
Yeah, but I think TP are the first to do it on the heavy side.
to sell as a group.
They are.
I think for TP are the first to put the toe in the water on heavy side products.
Yeah.
It's never been on the heavy side before. Timber's been there for a long time. Plumbing heating's been the way it works for years.
Yeah.
But heavy side's the first time.
The risk, the
You go
independent.
to see the size of that one on the M62, it's enormous.
Oh, yeah. But the risk to the independent is they will push the supplier to be able to offer that logistic support.
No, you're right.
Maybe.
So in terms of, obviously we've all agreed that merchants' position
Sorry, just to
in-
finish on that.
Of course.
The risk to TP is, will the customer pay for it? Will he pay for next day delivery when he's used to getting it 4 or 5 days? That's the risk to TP. Will he actually get the money for it?
But isn't that the question of if they can wait 4 to 5 days, if they're organised enough as a customer to be able to afford to wait 4 to 5 days, then no. But if it's going to affect their business that they need it, next day or the 2 days, then you pay for it because you have to
But I
fulfil
would
your
think,
client.
taking John's point about the customer evolving as well, I would still think it'll be delivered to a TP yard 8 o'clock in the morning and left there for 3 days.
Yeah,
Because that's the way the builders are currently working. And that's what they're used to.
yeah,
But it'll come a point in time with a new customer who want it
yeah.
there and then. And that's when they'll be ready for it. So I think it's about evolution, etc. That's the way it's going to work.
But isn't that the point? We're at that point in the industry where we're almost halfway through a journey from the traditional kind of builder and customer through to this kind of idea of a arguably younger tradesperson who is more used to the click and collect, the instant delivery, the sort of faster service. But we're not there yet. But we're halfway through that.
Taking Andy's point, they've got to get ready for it.
Yes.